All right, here with Scott Johnson with Woje, and also Dr. Stephen Renfeldt, who is a clinical psychologist. And, you're the area that we want to talk about for a minute here. What do I call you? Dr. Steve, Dr. Renfeldt, Steve? Do you have a nickname?
Dr. Steve is fine.
Oh, is it? You sound like you're getting ready to host your own nationally syndicated show.
When I worked in the prison, it was Dr. Homie.
Oh, that's another video for another day. I think we'll need to cover your background. But so, Dr. Steve, let's talk a little bit about the Woje platform itself. And Scott's with us here to kind of help fill in some gaps too. But it seems to me that there's an awful lot of application for Woje money in your world of therapists and counselors and the LCSWs and the clinical psychologists. What do you envision? How do you see that working?
Well, I think the biggest thing that comes to mind, especially right now, is I think I mentioned earlier, there's a nationwide shortage of licensed counselors and therapists, and long waiting lists. Plus, insurance companies don't reimburse like they used to for mental health. Sometimes they don't reimburse at all, and so the thing that I support with Woje, it's a win-win for both, people seeking out services and for the providers. Oh my gosh, the amount of money that's taken from billing agencies or collecting agencies is phenomenal, where in-house it's a service, so people can actually, therapists like myself with Woje, we can actually offer people right up front plans that allow them to be able to continue counseling for the length of time they need, rather than come in for a few short sessions because they can't afford it. There's so many factors involved that make it easier for the client to get services and easier for the therapist to be able to not have to discount their prices.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it would seem to me that, it feels like a national, even a global mental health pandemic more than ever is what it feels like to me. And like you said, it's interesting to hear that those in your field are just slammed with work or potential work, because the last thing you want is for these people to not get the help they need because they simply can't afford your services. And conversely, you don't want to have to discount your services like crazy because for them to be able to afford it.
And as therapists, as counselor therapists, that's what we tend to do, because we're people oriented. And you know that stress in people's lives is what contributes, to more trauma. Prolonged problems, stress maintains problems, and money stress is, up there at the top for everybody. So
Scott, Scott, you're listening in on this. You want to weigh in a little bit on?
I think he's right. He's right on point. I see it all the time. Like you said, therapists, everybody in that field is very, very emotionally driven, personable, and so because of it, the tendency that on the business side is, okay, I'll discount so that I can get you in. But the more and more that they discount, the less people that they're able to serve. And so being able to offer a legitimate amount and be able to finance it in-house gives them that capability that now they're able to open their doors to a much wider group of people that they can serve.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this: in a typical clinic, aren't most of these clinicians, let's call them practitioners, therapists, counselors, are they mostly sole, like individual, small, one-person offices? Maybe they don't have staff and things like that. Is that how that normally works?
I think the majority is that individual solo practice, just trying to get by with all of that. Although even group practices where they're sharing office space is actually an ideal environment to bring in something like this, because now everybody benefits and they can have maybe an office manager that can help take care of that as well.
Yeah. And Scott, I guess what I'm getting at is that if these counselors are so busy with the work that they are so passionate about and love to do. Can you talk to us a little bit about the ease of use of
Yeah.
the system itself and the onboarding processes?
Yeah. So one of the things is it takes about 5-10 minutes to set up. Once you're up and running, you can finance someone within 1 or 2 minutes. It doesn't take that long to be able to set them up and start financing them. One of the main things that I look at is the ease of it, in the standpoint of, a lot of people worry about collections. They're like, oh man, I'm going to spend a lot of time calling and that. No, this is a platform where you're basically approving a bill once, and now you're able to get the payments on automatic withdrawal, and you're able to adjust them. That's one of the other things I love about Woje is for the therapist, this is the perfect example of what they would want to do in taking care of their clients, because it really doesn't matter if people bounce payments. I know that sounds strange, but when you look at, the stress level that someone's going through, and you're able to, let's say that they bounced the payment because of, a car accident or COVID or whatever, do you know what I mean? Any kind of traumatic thing, you're able to, on the fly, be able to fix that issue that they're having, still be able to accept money, make more money in the process, and be able to keep that relationship on good terms. It's a total easy way of doing it. And the other thing too is the amount of people, because we teach every day correct ethical practices of financing, it means that they're dealing with less and less people that may bounce payments or may be struggling in any way. Actually, when you think about it, it's the perfect avenue. You got the therapist that's helping them become more confident, more capable, and they got the monthly payments coming in to that they don't have to stress about. Do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're stressed about it? Me as your therapist, I'm going to help you out, and you can do that all through the platform. So really, how I look at it, I think that the majority of them, as long as they follow the correct practices that we teach, which is transparent, ethical, civil financing, if they follow that, it means that they will have hardly anybody that ends up causing any havoc within their financing. It will be a very, very smooth ride for them. And if there are anybody that they end up having a problem, they're able to resolve it with a few clicks.
Yeah. It seems like a pretty natural extension, particularly for counselors and therapists, in terms of they've already built this really strong relationship with their patients, albeit professional, but a strong, it's a pretty personal, professional relationship. I mean, I don't want to, wade into murky waters of what you do, Steve, but I mean, the fact is that it really wouldn't be all that hard for you to be able to have a conversation with someone about how they're going to finance their next few sessions.
Well, in actuality, part of the ethics that we're governed by as psychologists is we have to have those discussions at the onset so that people aren't surprised by bills. I mean, like you said, the very principle of therapy is to allow people to get back on track with lives, to create a lot more ease for them to be able to deal in what they're dealing with. So by ethics, we're required to have that conversation and make those agreements up front. So, I mean, being able to have something like this to offer up front, holy crap. I think back when I'm negotiating with clients, really feeling their pain, but realizing that I have to pay for office rent and I've got my own family, that this would have been a perfect way for them to find a payment that worked for them, brought in regular income. Because again, we wait month to month for these checks from the insurance companies, where something like Woje, I mean, it becomes, I think, as I understand from Scott, it creates just a wonderful residual income that helps us during those summer periods where therapy dips in the summer. Wintertime, it's crazy. After Christmas holidays, everybody everybody goes into therapy after Christmas. They've been triggered by all their family. People don't realize that we have seasons just like everybody else.
It's the relatives.
I love it. I think what Dr. Steve is telling us is, you need to, if you're a therapist or a counselor, 'tis the season to jump on board with Woje and get ready for the inevitable crush of business that will come after, and you won't have to turn any away. How exciting is that? Cool. Thanks, Scott and Steve. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.